Hello everyone. Today we dive into one of America's most chilling and mysterious regions, a place where people have entered but never returned, a stretch of wilderness that locals whisper about with unease. This place is known as the Bennington Triangle, and for decades it has been the center of strange vanishings, unsettling rumors, and unexplained events that continue to baffle investigators, historians, and paranormal researchers alike. The Bennington Triangle is located in southwestern Vermont, an area marked by dense forests, rugged mountains, and isolated paths. It gained its ominous name in the 20th century, inspired by the Bermuda Triangle, due to the alarming number of strange disappearances that occurred there between 1945 and 1950. The central hub of this mystery is Glastenbury Mountain, a wild and remote place that has long been associated with unusual stories, from Native American legends to modern-day accounts of hikers vanishing without a trace. The first major disappearance that drew attention happened in November 1945. A man named Middie Rivers, a 74-year-old hunting guide, was leading a group of hunters through the area. Rivers was an experienced outdoorsman, someone who knew the forest trails and mountain paths better than anyone else. But on that day, he walked slightly ahead of the group and simply vanished. Despite extensive searches that lasted weeks, not a single clue was found. No footprints, no belongings, no body. He had seemingly dissolved into the wilderness. Almost exactly a year later, in December 1946, an even more disturbing case occurred. 18-year-old Paula Welden, a student at Bennington College, decided to take a walk along the Long Trail, a famous hiking path that cuts through Vermont. She was last seen by other hikers, wearing a bright red jacket. When she never returned, a massive search began, involving hundreds of people, police, and even the FBI. But Paula had disappeared completely. Her red jacket should have made her easy to spot in the snowy forest, yet no trace was ever found. To this day, her fate remains one of Vermont's most haunting unsolved mysteries. The third case happened in December 1949. James Tedford, a veteran and resident of the Bennington Soldiers' Home, boarded a bus headed back home after visiting relatives. Passengers confirmed he was on the bus when it left, and he was seen sitting in his seat during the trip. But when the bus arrived at its destination, Tedford was gone. His belongings were still on the seat, but he had vanished in transit. How could someone disappear from a moving bus without anyone noticing? This baffling disappearance only deepened the mystery surrounding the region. In October 1950, the Bennington Triangle claimed its youngest known victim. 8-year-old Paul Jepson was playing in his family's pickup truck while his mother tended to pigs at the farm where she worked. When she returned, Paul was gone. Witnesses later said they saw a boy matching his description walking toward the mountains. Despite a massive search effort, Paul was never seen again. Search dogs followed his scent to a local road before it ended abruptly, as if he had been picked up, or simply vanished into thin air. Just 16 days after Paul's disappearance, the triangle struck again. This time the victim was 53-year-old Frieda Langer, an experienced hiker and outdoorswoman. While hiking with her cousin near Glastenbury Mountain, Frieda slipped and fell into a stream. She told her cousin she would return home to change clothes before continuing. But Frieda never made it back. For months, her disappearance remained a mystery until her body was finally discovered 7 months later, in an area that had been extensively searched before. The cause of death was never determined, and the fact that her remains were found in a location previously combed raised disturbing questions. These 5 disappearances, occurring within a short span of 5 years, cemented the legend of the Bennington Triangle. Each case was strange in its own right, but together, they painted a chilling picture of a region where people seemed to vanish without explanation. Locals began whispering about curses, supernatural forces, and dark energies surrounding Glastenbury Mountain. Some claimed that Native American tribes had long considered the mountain cursed, a place to be avoided. Legends spoke of stone structures deep in the woods, unusual winds, and spirits that haunted the mountain. Skeptics argue that the disappearances could be explained by natural causes. The terrain is rugged and dangerous, with steep cliffs, sudden weather changes, and dense forests that can easily disorient even experienced hikers. Wild animals, accidents, and exposure to the elements could account for some of the vanishings, but the lack of bodies, belongings, or clear evidence makes these explanations feel incomplete. How does an experienced hunter vanish without leaving a trace? How does a passenger disappear from a bus in full view of others? And how does a young woman in a red jacket vanish from a snowy trail without a single sign? Adding to the mystery, Glastenbury itself has a history of strange events long before the mid-20th century. Native American stories warned of unusual energies and restless spirits in the area. Some legends spoke of a stone that swallowed people whole, a portal into another world. Others described strange lights in the sky, shadowy figures in the forest, and an overwhelming sense of dread that could drive people to madness. Over the years, hikers and campers have reported eerie sounds, sudden feelings of being watched, and bizarre phenomena that defy explanation. The idea of the Bennington Triangle being a window area is one that paranormal researchers have explored. Window areas are thought to be locations where the boundaries between dimensions are thin, allowing people, or even entire objects, to slip through. Could Glastenbury Mountain be one of these mysterious gateways? Did those who disappeared accidentally cross into another realm, never to return? The theory of alien abduction has also been suggested, especially given the UFO sightings reported in Vermont during the 20th century. Strange lights, hovering crafts, and unexplained aerial phenomena have been linked to the region. Could the people who vanished in the Bennington Triangle have been taken by forces beyond our understanding? It may sound outlandish, but the sheer strangeness of the cases leaves room for speculation. Of course, others believe the disappearances may have been the work of human hands. The remoteness of the area makes it an ideal place for crimes to be committed without detection. Could a serial predator have been operating in the Bennington Triangle during those years, preying on vulnerable individuals? If so, they left behind no evidence, no pattern, and no trace, making it one of the most perfect and terrifying series of crimes imaginable. What makes the Bennington Triangle so unsettling is not just the disappearances themselves, but the way the region seems to resist answers. Each theory, natural accidents, supernatural forces, alien abduction, or human crime, has strengths and weaknesses, but none fully explains the mystery. The forest remains silent, the mountain looms with its dark reputation, and the unanswered questions linger like a shadow over Vermont's history. The Bennington Triangle is more than just a geographical area. It has become a symbol of humanity's fear of the unknown. The disappearances of Middie Rivers, Paula Welden, James Tedford, Paul Jepson, and Frieda Langer are the most famous cases, but they are not the only strange happenings tied to the region. Over the decades, reports of bizarre encounters, unexplained noises, and ghostly apparitions have continued to emerge from those who venture into its depths. One of the most unsettling elements of the triangle is the way in which the environment itself seems to play tricks on the human mind. Hikers have described losing all sense of direction, even when using compasses and maps. Some claim that sound behaves oddly, echoing in ways that disorient or vanishing altogether, creating unnatural silence. In dense forests, losing track of the trail is easy, but in the Bennington Triangle, many who escape describe the sensation as if something invisible was leading them astray. Psychologists have considered whether mass suggestion and folklore play a role. Once an area gains a reputation for being haunted or cursed, people entering it may become hypersensitive to fear and suggestion. This can amplify normal wilderness dangers, turning them into seemingly supernatural experiences. But this explanation does not account for the sheer number of vanishings without trace. Fear can distort perception, but it cannot erase human beings completely. In exploring possible explanations, we must also consider the history of Glastenbury itself. Before the disappearances of the 1940s and 50s, the area was home to a small town called Glastenbury, established in the 19th century. It began as a logging and mining community, but the land was so harsh and isolated that the town eventually dwindled to nothing. By the early 20th century, Glastenbury was essentially a ghost town, its remaining residents abandoning it to the wilderness. Some historians argue that the land itself resisted habitation, swallowing attempts at civilization. Could this rejection by the environment tie into the later vanishings? There are also stories from Native American traditions that warn against venturing onto Glastenbury Mountain. The Abenaki people, native to Vermont, considered the mountain cursed, a place where strange winds blew in every direction and where spirits wandered. According to legend, the mountain was home to a stone that could open and swallow people whole. While these may be myths, they carry a symbolic weight when paired with the unexplained disappearances that came later. In recent decades, paranormal investigators and curious adventurers have flocked to the area, drawn by the legend of the Bennington Triangle. Many have returned with stories of strange lights, phantom voices, or a deep sense of unease that compelled them to leave suddenly. Some report hearing footsteps following them, only to find no one there. Others describe sudden temperature drops, or the feeling of being watched from just beyond the tree line. Skeptics point out that the wilderness can naturally create such sensations. The rustle of animals, shifting winds, and the mind's own tendency to invent patterns in the unknown can combine to create the illusion of something otherworldly. But when combined with the long history of actual disappearances, these reports take on a more chilling quality. One of the enduring mysteries is why the disappearances seem to cluster in that 5-year span from 1945 to 1950. Did something unique happen during that time? Was it a coincidence, or did conditions, whether natural, criminal, or supernatural, align in such a way that made the region more dangerous than usual? No definitive answers have ever been found, but the concentration of cases suggests a pattern too strange to ignore. The story of Paula Welden, in particular, continues to haunt Vermont. Her case was so famous that it led to the creation of the Vermont State Police, as the lack of resources and coordination in her search revealed how unprepared local authorities were. Yet despite the massive effort, not even the faintest clue of her fate was uncovered. It is as if the forest itself decided to consume her. James Tedford's disappearance from the bus adds a surreal twist to the mystery. Unlike the other vanishings, this one did not take place on a trail or in the wilderness, but in full view of others. For him to vanish without anyone noticing is perhaps the most perplexing element of all. Some suggest that witnesses may have been mistaken, that Tedford never boarded the bus at all, but his belongings were there, making his absence even more inexplicable. The disappearance of young Paul Jepson adds another tragic layer, the loss of a child to the unknown. Reports that his scent trail ended abruptly on a road feed speculation that he may have been abducted. Yet no suspects were ever identified, and the case remains as cold as the mountain winds that sweep the Bennington forest. Then there is the strange case of Frieda Langer, the only one whose body was found. The fact that her remains turned up in an area already thoroughly searched raises disturbing possibilities. Was she overlooked the first time, hidden by some means, or was her body placed there later? If the latter, who or what could have done so? Over time, the legend of the Bennington Triangle has grown, drawing comparisons to other infamous zones of mystery, like the Bermuda Triangle or Alaska's Triangle. It has entered popular culture, appearing in books, documentaries, and paranormal discussions worldwide. For some, it is a cautionary tale about the dangers of wilderness and the power of myth. For others, it is genuine evidence that there are places in this world where the veil between realities is thin, and where people can slip away into realms unknown. The truth about the Bennington Triangle may never be discovered. Whether it is the result of human crime, natural hazards, psychological phenomena, or something far stranger, the fact remains that people entered its depths and never came back. Their stories linger as warnings, mysteries etched into the fabric of Vermont's history. As you listen to these accounts, ask yourself, what explanation makes the most sense? Could it really be chance and nature at work, or does the Bennington Triangle hide secrets beyond human comprehension? Perhaps the most terrifying possibility is that we will never know. The wilderness guards its mysteries well, and in the heart of Vermont, the Bennington Triangle continues to stand as a silent, watchful enigma.